once again, we are here with the phenomenal, amazing, wonderful in every single way, Utahime. And I want to thank you so much for like
My head is just gonna get big.
no,
Ooh.
it's all like you deserve it. You know, you worked hard and this is, your reward for all that hard work is
Oh
this
my gosh.
praise. So it's good.
You are awesome. I appreciate you. I appreciate
Of
you.
course, of course, yeah.
You are amazing.
And I really appreciate that you once again showcase how much of a homie you are by like me coming to you last, because this was actually supposed to happen next weekend, but then something happened with like my sister who was supposed to be in this time slot, and then I was like, Utime, can you please do it? And then you were like, absolutely, got you. And I was like, oh, thank you. And that's how
I know
you
your sister is doing big things. She's in Vogue, and
it's
she's sponsored by Trident
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
gum and like all these other like companies and stuff. She's a baller. So it's like
Yep.
goals.
I
Hashtag.
know, right? It's wild.
One
It's
day we'll be that cool.
exact. Oh, we're gonna get there. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, absolutely. So it's like it's just funny. I get so desensitized to all that stuff. I'm like, oh, you're doing this now? Cool. It's whatever. So it's like, yeah. But anyways, we're not here to talk about her. We're here to talk about you. So let's go ahead and start off with the traditional. Could you take a moment to introduce yourself and your brand and everything that you're about?
Sure. I am Utahime Cosplay. My legal name, which is also my Twitter handle, is Brianna DeCoster. But yeah, I am originally from Chicago, Illinois. I moved here. Now it's, oh my gosh, it's 20. No, wait, not 20. What am I talking about? 11 years ago? 11? 20. It was back in 2010.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow. I mean, I moved from Chicago to
Wow.
California
Yeah.
to continue to pursue like acting, dance, and performing, and more opportunities were out here at the time. And
Yeah.
I've always been a nerd, very much so. And it was something that I always wanted to do as far as getting into cosplay. And I didn't. It was funny because back home I didn't really know anybody who was a part of the community
Yeah.
where I lived on the south side of Chicago. It wasn't really in, and it was really cool to kind of see how big it was in obviously West Coast,
Yeah.
especially like San Diego Comic Con. That was like the con of
Mm-hmm.
all cons.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I ended up getting into cosplay. I went to Anime Expo and decided to dress up, and the rest is history. I just continued down that path of cosplaying, and then I got into doing things like hosting panels
Yeah.
on how to feel comfortable in your cosplay and posing in front of
Mm-hmm.
cameras on stage for like things like masquerade, and we've had mental health panels,
Yeah.
and other things dealing with like how to survive a day in cosplay, fun stuff
Right?
that I've got to do with friends.
Yeah.
And I've been able to judge cosplay competitions, and it and then it transitioned into more of the tabletop RPG and D&D, which is
Yeah.
something that I always wanted to get into because I had only done RuneQuest before, and
Oh,
now I'm
right
doing
on.
more of
Yeah.
that. So I'm living my best geek
Mm-hmm.
life,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
know you appreciate that
I do. I
because
do.
you're the geek life. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's literally it's so funny because if somebody would have told me, little Brianna, age 10, that I would be doing what I'm doing today, I'd be like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
crazy.
Lies. You
Man, I'm getting bullied for liking the stuff I like. Are
right?
you serious? I'm gonna
Exactly.
find a
Little did
community of
they know.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, that's kind of a long-winded version. That's Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to share, but that's like the brief
Hey, this is your space. We're here
the
for it.
brief
This is
version,
we're
I
in,
guess.
we're in the church of Utahime right now. So you preach all you want to
Can
preach.
I
So it's
get
like,
an
yeah,
amen?
exactly.
No, I'm just
Amen.
kidding.
Yeah. So that was awesome. So that kind of combines the first two questions together, where it's like, what was your origin story? Which I do appreciate that, like
Mhm.
how you actually got into it. Because Chicago has what C2. Was it C2?
C2E2.
Yeah. Was that
Yeah.
around when you were still in Chicago,
I'm
or
pretty sure it was one of those things that if you didn't know
yeah?
people who were in the know, it's not like
I
you would
feel that.
know of
Yeah.
these names of like I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that there was
Yeah.
like at the McCormick place. I could have been a part of this a long time ago. Like I
Mm-hmm.
met my friends, fan service Renji
Yeah.
and Shayna Patella, and they were Chicagoans, and I met them through the anime scene, and they were like, girl, like, yeah, like there's tons of anime
Mm-hmm.
conventions and this and that, and I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, why did I know you guys back then? But where I lived, it wasn't, I didn't really, have a lot of friends
Mm-hmm.
with the same interests.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, to get a little personal, I didn't have that many close friends just
Yeah.
in general because I was kind of the weirdo. So it was
Wow.
one of those things where it's just kind of like, if you don't have a ton of people in your life, then you don't may not know about that. But
Yeah.
I'm just grateful now that I have an awesome group of friends, and including yourself, and
Oh, thank you.
things
Thank
have changed.
you. Yeah.
Definitely since back when I was younger. But yeah, it was definitely, the community was around. I
Mhm.
just didn't know. I didn't have any clue, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I still am a little sad about that because I would have loved to be a part of that
Earlier.
Chicago scene.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
sometimes it's all about timing, and what's meant to be will be. So
Yeah, that's a beautiful line, exactly. And then,
yeah,
yeah, that's awesome. So,
yeah,
since you already explained your origin story for like cosplay, let's go ahead and turn the other way to actually tabletop role playing. So, how
yeah.
did you get into tabletop role playing? And was it like you who decided you wanted to get into it, or did you get pulled into it like a friend group or anything like that?
It was a friend group. So, I have a friend who I knew from, like, when I was working for a Australian athletic brand, and I was her manager at the
Yeah,
time, and we became really close friends. And her fiance, now husband, I became close friends with them, both of them.
yeah,
That couple. And um, it was like a couple years later, they got me into a game that they played, RuneQuest,
yeah,
and with some of our other friends, Cole and Annie and some others, like our little group that decided to just, kind of, they helped me create a character because I didn't
yeah.
really know that process. And I remember my first character was Lorena Starwind. So
Nice.
that was her name, and she was like, she served a goddess that would, like, represented womanhood, and kind of like, I think I like to compare it to, like, Themyscira. Like,
Yeah,
it's basically like the equivalent of, like, Wonder Woman's world almost.
nice, amazing.
So it was really cool.
Yeah,
But it was interesting because I was still so new to it,
yeah,
but it was a lot of fun because it was something that I would, like, go to my like we would go to each other's houses, and like, order pizza and
yeah.
beer, and, like, just hang out and have a
Those are the
good time.
best nights. Yeah,
It's so much fun. And yeah, and then that ended up kind of raising my interest in other systems.
yeah,
And my roommates now, who a lot of people know are part of, the Jasmine Dragon. That's what we call our
yeah.
little, like,
I
community.
love it. I love
Our
that Avatar
streaming
love. Yeah.
household. And yeah, so who's Kenzo Lee and Ashley, cosplay and beer, basically during the pandemic, we had this free time on our hands. And Ashley actually, cosplay and beer led us through our first campaign, which was I think Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Mhm.
Wait, I think that's the name. I think that's the title of it.
Yeah.
And I kind of based my character for that off of Dragon Prince
Yeah.
Rayla, because I love Rayla so
Oh, she's
much.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
she was like a moon elf rogue, and I didn't know what the heck. I didn't know that involved a lot of math too.
Yeah.
So that was really fun for me
Right?
to fail at
It's like,
adding
oh
things.
shit. Yeah, I got to do math now. Yeah. My basic math skills have skyrocketed since I become a dungeon master because
Yeah,
it's been so good. Oh my god.
but I'm still really new. So I'm a wee baby. So I'm
Yeah.
a wee baby when it comes to D&D and like TTRPGs. But then you got me into obviously, like, where I did the stream with you. That was my
Hmm.
first time ever doing a stream like that
Yeah.
for D&D for the charity. And then I ended up getting involved with Fable because of Alicia Marie,
Yeah.
my one of my besties, and she recommended me for Vault 42 on Fable 42. And that just led to me becoming a part of that community,
Yeah.
and everyone's been so welcoming. And
Yeah. I can
even when
attest to that. Yeah.
I was really self-conscious, and I wasn't sure. I was like, oh man, these people have been playing for years. I don't belong here. But I felt like that too with cosplay when I first started. With the cosplay and with this community, you find
Yeah.
great people who
Hmm.
are like, hey, no, we'll take you under our wing.
Yeah.
Please come. More the merrier. And it's been awesome. And that's how I got involved with. I got a chance to be in Wizards of Ukador, and before Vault 42 premiered, and so that was kind of good because I got my feet wet a little bit,
Yeah.
like, dip my toe in the water.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
I've
Now the
loved it. I've
needle's
gotten
full
other
in the
opportunities
vein.
from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten other opportunities from that, and it's been really great. And I'm really excited to see what this year holds.
Yeah, I think that you said really hit hard for me, where the things I used to get bullied for are the things that I now do for, like
Yeah.
my livelihood, and like, a lot of that's kind of stuff. So it's like, it's really awesome, and it's so true, because I relate to that a
Yeah.
lot, where Dungeons and Dragons was so looked down upon, and like same with, a lot of video games and everything like that. And now you're just like,
Yeah.
Yakuza, we're gonna play all the games before we play the new one,
I
and just
know.
like,
Even that, like, my grandma's like, I didn't know. Like, like, even my parents are like, we didn't know that, like, video. We would have
this
had you
could be
continue
right.
to play Tekken till the wee hours of the morning if we
Exactly.
knew that you could have been making us money.
Yep.
Jokingly, but also very much that's a real thing. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like these things that, usually the adults were like, no, 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 focus on your schoolwork,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
did. But at the same time, I loved gaming
These
and
passions. Yeah.
the other things. And so it's just like they were like, who would have thought? They would never have imagined. And so it's been cool to kind of see my family kind of change their
The
opinion on
tune and
things.
everything.
I think my
Yeah.
mom was more open, but my grandma really has been like, whoa. And so
Hmm.
to see her, because she's older generation,
Yeah.
kind of come around and be supportive and tune into my streams. I'm like, what?
Oh,
So
that's
I always know
super
when she
good.
tunes
Yeah.
in, and I'm always like, if it's like something awkward, like there's been a few times with Yakuza where I'm like, oh, grandma,
Yeah.
so what's
Right.
up? I
Yeah.
know you're in the
Exactly. Yeah.
chat. Oh lordy.
Let's just exactly.
But it's been fun. It's been fun.
Good. That's awesome. And then yes. So another line that also hit me really hard was when you had mentioned that, like, back in the day you didn't have many close friends because you were quote unquote the weirdo, which is like,
Yes.
I don't believe that. I feel like that's your self-esteem saying that, which
No, no,
I
no, no. Like, okay, let me describe. So it's funny because I tell people, like, I told the fable
yeah.
crew that basically it's funny because Kizana was kind of based off of a younger version of me. Like, I
Yeah.
was very much introverted. I
Hmm.
was a huge introvert, and people don't believe it to this day. But when people talk to, like, when my mom
Yeah.
has come to help me at conventions before, obviously before the pandemic, people talking with my mom, they're like, really? Like they don't believe it
Yeah.
until my family actually tells them, like, no, no, no. She was like, I was very much
Hmm.
introverted. It was weird. I grew up, it was kind of like I loved like X-Men
Yeah.
and Batman the animated series and Sailor Moon, and I love Star Wars. I was a huge Star Wars
Yeah.
nut. I had an R2D2 phone, which my grandma's still trying to find to this day because she doesn't know where to put it. She might have sold it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um, even though not really, because
I
I
know,
really
right?
wanted it back.
Exactly.
But and I played video games because my uncle like had me on his knee teaching me how to
Yeah.
play Mortal Kombat at like 5 years old, and I loved black and white films and
Hmm.
television. So I was watching like anything from Leave It to Beaver
Hmm.
to like, one of my favorite movies was My Man Godfrey, which is a
Yeah.
1930s film with like,
Wow. Okay.
William Powell, Carol Lombard. So I was kind of like across the board. I had like old lady tastes, but
Yeah.
also too like nerdy tastes. And people were just like, what is up with this kid? Like
Yeah.
I like old, like I was listening. I remember, I think in like high school, I went through my disco phase. So I loved
Oh,
listening to
really?
Donna
Yeah.
Summers and Bee
Yeah.
Gees
Earth,
going to
Wind, and
like school
Fire.
in the
All
morning.
that.
And it's just
Yeah.
like,
So good.
so I had weird taste in music. I loved old school television. I would be
Yeah.
watching Frasier and all these different things in addition to like, shows on, Saturday morning
Yeah.
cartoons and everything else. So because I had all these eclectic tastes, and also too, I was a bookworm.
Hmm.
I love to read, and I had my nose in the book. It you didn't find a lot of
Yeah.
people who had
Like-minded
those
people.
common
Exactly.
interests. You know what I mean?
Or
Or if they did, they hid it.
exactly. That's what I was gonna
And
say. Yeah.
so I learned to kind of just like kind of shut down and kind of like just like kind of put a wall up or just try to
Yeah.
be invisible, because whenever people would ask me or like, what do you think about, and I had a different taste or whatever, and then they'd be like, oh, that's so stupid, like, oh, you're so weird, or and it
Yeah.
became where in elementary school I was really bullied. My
Hmm.
desk was emptied out like almost every other morning.
Hmm.
I've had book bag thrown at my head. I
Yep.
had boy like they would loudly talk about me and say like, "Oh, she's so weird. Like, nobody will ever date her. I would rather date a dog than date
Yep.
Brianna." Like, it was really
Being a geek and
rough.
also a person of color is like twice, like double
Yeah.
damage. It's like,
And it was weird because then also too, that was like, that happened in the inner city, like when I was in the suburbs,
yeah.
because my mom, because of her work, she moved. It was interesting because I was like, I went from being the only, like one of the few minorities, and that caused a totally different clash
Yeah.
because it's like also culture clash,
Hmm.
and then going to predominantly African American school,
Yeah.
but I didn't
Not
fit
enough for either
anywhere.
party. Exactly. Yep.
And
Yep.
so it's really tough because you're not only dealing with the identity, because I mean obviously I have so many different tastes because
Yeah.
my family, it's multicultural, so we have different tastes. Like I watch BBC films with my
Yeah.
mom, and like we she took me to museums, and like we did all these different things as as a family. It's like I was raised in a single parent home. Now my mom remarried,
Yeah.
and I have an amazing stepdad, but who's also a nerd. But
Nice.
at the time that was like kind of like, where do you fit in? Because I was like, I didn't fit into any place.
Yeah.
And so it was really rough. It was interesting because I remember I had an interview, I and it was with Voyage LA,
Hmm.
and my grandma, for the first time, I kind of wrote about my experience growing up, and she was like, I didn't know it was that bad. Like
Hmm.
I didn't know.
Rarely they
And
do.
it's and
Yeah.
my
Exactly.
mom did, because my mom actually like the teachers, some of the teachers in my school, it got so bad at one school
Yeah.
that um the teachers actually,
Had to step in.
like, I remember, I will
Wow.
never
Yeah.
forget my one teacher, Mr. Enery. I will never forget it.
Yeah.
He stood up to the entire class and he went off on them. But it only made the bullying worse. But at the same time, it was really cool to see an
Yeah.
educator actually be like, this is
To
not
step up.
okay and will not be tolerated,
Yeah.
because you don't treat another person like this. And it was something that really meant a lot to me, because it's something that for me, that's why I get really defensive when I see that, even online with
Yeah.
cyberbullies and all of that stuff, because it hits home, because I know what that's like. And people, I
Hmm.
think they see me today and they don't think that I've gone through the same thing, or like
Yeah.
depression. And my mom would see me come home from school depressed because, and just wanting to eat, do my homework, and go to
Or
sleep.
sleep.
And
Yeah. Exactly.
she was the only one who knew, and my mom also too was the one who helped me to kind of like, break out of that cycle, because
Yeah.
it wasn't healthy. And she's like, it's okay, because some people will not understand you,
Hmm.
but you have to love you for who you are. And my mom would
Exactly.
always like talk to me, and like, we had all of these moments, and she's like my best friend.
Yeah.
So it's those moments that it's like, especially if you're a parent, look out for those things, because
Oh
it really,
yeah.
man, it makes the difference when you feel like,
Absolutely.
someone sees you and understands,
Hmm.
what you're going through.
Yeah, even if they don't understand exactly what's going on, the fact that they can sympathize means the world, because especially I feel like,
Yeah.
at least is it for the Latinx community, but for me growing up, like depression, anxiety, any sort of mental health things were just dismissed. They're like, that's all, those are lies, those are
Yeah.
excuses, that doesn't
Yeah.
exist, just get over it, man up, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's beautiful that now as a society we become more accepting, um,
Yeah.
of mental health and like mental care and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to benefit our children as down the road and all that kind of stuff, because now they no longer have to like, it was double damage for me, sort of. Well, kind of
Hmm.
like in multiple ways, because I was like an emo kid. I loved MCR, I loved the U's and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So but the good thing for me is that like thankfully in sophomore year I would get bullied as well. But then I got so mad that I threw hands and no one messed with me, because it was like, oh, that's a brown man that'll fight. So it's like, let's not mess with it. Exactly. So I'm like, that saved me. I was like, oh, thank God. But like,
Yeah.
it's definitely difficult. I absolutely,
Yeah.
like, I'm
Like high
sorry.
school, I came
Yeah.
out of my shell a little bit more,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it was because in high school, it was a little bit different, because you did find some people who
Yeah.
kind of like understood you, and I was a drama geek. So yes,
Yep.
if you
Theater
were wondering,
kids.
I
Yeah.
totally was a theater kid. I actually was in dance as well,
Yeah.
but that didn't last as long, because I realized that, even though I made it on the dance team, that a lot of the girls had been dancing like for years, like as far as like taking actual classes. And
Yeah.
so I actually removed myself in order to try to actually take classes outside of school, in order to try to get technique, because I admired the people who were on my dance team, because they were so talented. And um, it was really cool to see. And but with theater, I loved, that was one thing, even when I was in like middle school, I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it, because I grew up watching like Betty Davis and Grace Kelly, and
Yeah.
these like beautifully talented women who were powerful actresses. And I was just like, I want to be like them one day and
Yeah.
bring characters to life. And so it was something that I knew I wanted to do. So theater was great, because it was an outlet for me,
Yeah.
where introverted Brianna was with a bunch of other awkward people.
Mm-hmm.
We were all awkward together, and we got a chance to not be ourselves, to
Yes.
be these big personas. And sing these songs, dance on the stage, do all these different things. And I knew it was something that I wanted to be a part of because performing gave me just like so much happiness.
Yeah.
And I like even with dance and performing in general, it was just that it's
Yeah.
something that I can't explain. It's just like when you feel like you're like, this is home, this is what I want to
Exactly.
do.
That's what I
So that
think.
kind of led to the future, me kind of getting
Yeah,
more involved
I
in
think
that.
that's a big component of it, where we like, especially like minority geeks, who had all these passions and all these things that weren't accepted by society, find
Hmm.
solace or escapism in these different like roles that we can play
Yeah,
that are socially acceptable, like Dungeons and Dragons, or acting in theater and all that kind of stuff, where you can stop being Brianna or D'Angelo and be someone else, and then get to like
yeah.
full blown explore what you would want to do if you could, like, well, that's kind of weird. If you could murder everyone in the room, or like you can be, if you could do all these different things that you
Oh,
could never do in real life.
violence.
Exactly, right? Or like, just be super cocky or super charismatic or
Yeah,
super, all these different personality traits that you don't
yeah.
have as yourself, that you can explore
Mhm.
in a healthy environment or whatever. That I
Yeah,
think would be, I think it's very interesting that a lot of us gravitate towards that sort of stuff. And
yeah. It was
yeah,
just a natural, it was one of those things that it just, it felt right.
yeah.
But and I made friends and like, and been able to reconnect with some people like if you see Bori Blood, tune into your
Yes, yes,
streams,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he knows me from the awkward
That's
days, but
right.
not
He
so
has
awkward. I
photos.
was like, I tried to dress cooler. I had
Yeah.
braces so I could straighten my teeth because like Lord knows that my grill was kind of whack.
Uh,
And my mom was like, I'm gonna do what we didn't get a chance to do growing up. I'm gonna make sure that you get your braces, but you better brush your teeth and don't eat popcorn or gum.
right?
And so yeah, so I was good, and I brushed my teeth during lunchtime, even though that was really awkward sometimes. But
It
but it
pays
was,
off,
yeah, it was definitely different. I think high school was like the beginning of me trying to come out of my shell more.
Yeah.
And
Finding
but I
yourself,
didn't
yeah.
fully like, it was still parts of my nerdiness that I still kind of like kept in
Yeah.
sometimes, like because my friends were like, oh well, I didn't know you were into like you like some anime and this and that. And I'm like, well, I was like trying to separate myself from that a little bit.
Hmm.
So it's like I wasn't really like talking about every single thing. It's like you're
Yeah.
trying to be cool in high school. So even though I was a part of the drama club, you still didn't like you still were trying to not like, I don't know, it
Hmm.
was weird. I was
A
I
weird
was
dance
definitely
you
trying
try
to
to
kind of
survive.
hide
Yeah.
some of it, but I probably didn't have to hide as much as I did. And I
Yeah.
think that but again, it's all a part of our I think our growing up process,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we as an adult, like I got to the point where I was tired of kind of hiding
Hmm.
these different interests and things. And Lord knows when it comes to dating, that's also to another thing that we won't even get on, because that's a whole nother thing
It's all
about
good.
dating
This
in
is your
LA,
time. This is
especially
your,
when you're a
yeah.
nerd.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the performing arts, it was great because when I got out of high school, I was able to get involved with some really amazing companies
Yeah.
in Chicago, um, and work, with some of their youth programs and things during the summer, and
Hmm.
as a young adult. And that was really awesome.
Yeah.
I hit a lot of it wasn't that also too. I hit a lot of the nerdy parts of me, but at the same time, theater nerd is a little different from nerd like
Yeah.
for anime and comic books and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
that's amazing. And then, okay, I can see why we're friends, because we have a lot in common for a lot of things. So it's like, it's good stuff. So, okay, as a content creator, we can often find ourselves working beyond our limits and ultimately burning out. What are your own self care techniques to ensure that your mental health is like looked after and taken care of and everything like that? You mentioned some of it before, but what does Brianna do right now that makes sure that she's doing okay?
I think that it's still a process because I think that with the pandemic and all of the things that are going on in the world right now, especially
Yeah.
with our country, um, there's a lot. It's a lot of stress,
Hmm.
and especially with like people being laid off from work. And I know that I'm also laid off from work, so
Hmm.
you can be very hard on yourself. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn how to be patient. I
Hmm.
think that because I had just I was before pandemic, I was kind of that was the first time I was started actually being asked to cons and to travel
Yeah.
to different states and different things like that. and being having opportunity to host panels and talk to people
Mhm.
from different communities and things like that. It was something that it had just started
Yep.
happening for me, so then all of a sudden for it to stop, it was a little bit heartbreaking for me, because it was
Yeah.
like one of those things where it's like I just kind of started on this
Mhm.
like everything I was
The
working
momentum
hard
was
to
like,
do, the
yeah.
momentum was there and it just stopped.
Mhm.
So it was something where for a while it was really like, I what do I where do I go from here? Because
Yeah.
I thought I had
The
it planned
game
out and I was
planned. Yeah,
working towards
exactly.
something, a game plan. But sometimes, sometimes it can go a little bit off off the path that
Yeah.
you expected or want or thought that, hey, this is the path. But God sometimes has a different plan for you, and that's
Yeah.
what I learned, is that where doors close, others open. And
Yeah.
that was for me, during that time, that was D&D and TTRPGs and stuff, doors open.
Came in
And so
exactly, yeah.
I think it's knowing that just because, things are rough,
Mhm.
and, it's hard to, you get into that negative cycle where you think things will only get worse,
Mhm.
nothing's gonna work out. You're kind of just, you know, maybe
Yeah.
crying, or really, just ready to throw, like, I don't know, throw hands with the wall or
Yeah.
something. But you have to know that it's for a season,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that you're going to be stuck there, and you will allow yourself to be stuck there if you get into that downward spiral of negative thoughts. And so I've been trying to make sure that, and I'm not perfect, I have my good days, I have my bad days.
Mhm.
um but and it really does help that I have some really positive people around me, because
Yeah.
I do feel like that's helped a lot. And my family, being there for me, and they always know what to say to kind of like, if they do
Help
hear me
out.
kind of
Yeah, the
going in that
guidance.
direction.
Mhm.
And I think that we try to do that for each other.
Yeah.
So I think it's just checking in with yourself, and really taking, even if you need to, go for a walk with your mask, or or
Yeah.
just, read a book, or kind of, drink your favorite coffee or tea or
Mhm.
whatever, or like just take some time for you to really figure, kind of get your head straight.
Yeah.
And, if you do miss family or friends, and, kind of checking in with them as
Mhm.
well. And like, it's just nice to have that communication too, because sometimes you have to get it out, because keeping it all in, that's something that I used to
Yep.
do a lot.
Panic
Um,
attacks and,
and
like,
yeah,
breakdowns. Yeah.
I used to do that a lot. And my mom was actually the one who kind of got me out of doing that,
Mhm.
because she's like, it's only going to fester. You're only going to, kind of be in your own thoughts. And sometimes you do need to, not saying you have to just share your personal business with
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah.
but people that you trust, and or family, or whoever
Yeah,
that
to
is
lean
for
on
you.
other people sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the most important thing, I think, the number one thing I think, is be patient
Mhm.
with yourself.
I think that's a
Be
really
kind
good
to yourself.
yeah, I think that's a
Love
really good
yourself.
point because this is just going to be here for a season is a really really good mindset to have, you know, because I feel like for a lot of us, especially POC content creators who already know that we have to work like 3 times harder than
Oh,
our
yeah.
lighter skinned peers in order to get any sort of opportunity.
Mhm.
We were hustling like night and day, super hard, and then suddenly for our life to just come to a halting stop because of something
Yeah,
that's out of our control,
yeah,
that immediately sends a lot of people into a downward spiral, and I'm always forever
yeah,
an optimist. So when I saw this, I was like, this is more time for me to work on other projects. But of course, like
yeah,
a lot of other people didn't have that same mindset. They were just like, I can't handle
yeah,
this right now. My whole life is like shattered. I rely on conventions for my income. Like that's why I have a part-time job. So
yeah,
it's
yeah. And
it's
see, I did that in addition to like
yeah.
working, like I was working full time
Hmm.
and on the weekend. So I didn't have free weekends,
Yeah.
because basically I would request time off from work, and I could be gone for like almost 3 to 4 days,
Yeah.
traveling to a convention, somewhere in California, or like, New York or whatever. But there was no rest. So it was weird for me, because I also too was always busy.
Hmm.
So to go from that to like where you're at home and you're like, I got this is what do
Yeah.
I do?
You
Because
almost feel
I've been working
guilty.
since I was
Yeah.
like, what, 15?
Hmm.
Like I worked at like Abercrombie Fitch. Like I was like
Hmm.
doing like part-time work. So
Yeah.
I've always been just always working
Yeah.
in some capacity. So that was also too an adjustment. Um, but it was not, yeah, cosplay was not my, I think people thought that it was my
Yeah.
primary source of income. It was not,
Hmm.
because I was trying to work towards
Getting to
to
that
get to
point.
that
Yeah.
level where I kind of could, kind of do more of the things that I was passionate about
Hmm.
instead of doing something just to survive, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I think that was something that I realized during this time as well.
Hmm.
You also learn what's important, and especially with everything that's going on, and you're like, life is short,
Hmm.
and maybe I need to like redirect my energy and focus on, what really matters and my passions
Yeah.
and things like that. And that was something that I learned, and it was scary as hell, but it was something that I needed to like really reevaluate, because I was kind of, putting certain goals and things aside for a job that I knew I wouldn't do forever,
Yeah.
but put money in my bank account and food
Yeah.
on the
Food on the table.
table.
Exactly.
But it's like, at what cost,
Hmm.
So it was kind of something too that I had to think about. And, it's going to be interesting. I still have to try to figure those things out. But,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, it's a process, and you
Day by
just,
day.
you
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, day by day.
So it's good. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so we know that you have accomplished so much during your career. I literally, I think the first time I met you was when you were a cosplay senpai at Anime Expo through the recommendation
I
of
think
Shelby.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so cool. And I was so nervous to meet you too.
Which
And
is weird. Whenever people say that, I'm like, I think that they're lying and they're just trying to like gas me up. And I'm
no,
like,
it
why are
was
you lying
legit.
like that? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Oh my god! And
because
then,
I'm like, it's just me, it's Brie. Like, I never understand that when people are like, and I've seen people
yeah.
and they're like nervous, and I go up to them and I say hi, and they're like, I was nervous to say hi. I didn't know if
Mm-hmm.
you would be nice. And I'm like, what? No,
Yup.
of course, come hang.
That's amazing. And then yes, so you've accomplished so much during your career, but there has to be some L's, just like anyone else in like the consecration sphere, or just like any human beings. We've all had moments that we thought everything was going right. We had all of our shit
Hmm.
together, and then something just went wrong, and it became an L. Which the very first person I interviewed in this series was named Eliana Murillo, and she said,
Uh-huh.
and I quote, "Their L's no longer mean losses; they mean lessons." So, what was
Yeah.
the biggest lesson for you, and what happens during that situation?
Hmm. Um, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. Um, I mean, I think that there's been okay, I n- I wouldn't even say it wasn't even like losses or per se, but it
Yeah.
was something kind of dealing with it, because of the fact that, you, at least for me,
Yeah.
I can be kind of like, again, already kind of mentioned it, kind of hard on myself, like, where I want things to go perfectly, or
Mm-hmm.
like I want it to go smoothly. And I remember at ALA,
Mm-hmm.
like, I remember, it was one year where I was doing a lot, including like judging the masquerade.
Yeah.
But before the masquerade, I had, I think, like, no, two or three panels
Mm-hmm.
before, and I had like only a short time before I had to get back and change
Oh
into cosplay
yeah.
again in order to go do the masquerade. And so I was running around a lot, and but also too, some things had happened where, like, I had some issues with cosplay things and like trying to get ready, and I was like
Yeah.
kind of almost slightly like, it was almost like I was worried that I was going to be like late
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be late to my own panels, and because I'm the one who has to like make sure everybody gets in and
Exactly.
doing all that stuff. So it was like, how sometimes a day, it just, everything that could possibly go wrong
Goes
went
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like that, where I was just like, I was really stressed. And it was funny because I also too was hosting a mental health panel that day.
Yeah.
So I was like, how
You're like,
ironic is this?
yep.
But
Do what I say,
basically,
not what I do. Yeah.
even though it was a really rough start, each panel went really well. People were like
Good. Yeah.
talking about how much they enjoyed it and everything. And but so I was like, okay, this is great. Like, things are going okay. Like, I can bounce back. I
Yeah.
can eat some food. When I was about to go ahead to eat some food, I was supposed to drop off some keys to a friend,
Yeah.
and a guy who was apparently a squatter at this hotel decided he wanted to pick a fight with Princess Allura in casual Voltron outfit. That was me.
Oh really?
Yeah, he wanted to actually, like, he was all up in my like, it was just really weird because he was like, you're in my way, and like he was kind of like getting really like in my, and I had it,
Yeah.
and I was like, I have had a day. If you do not back up off of my face, out of
Yeah.
my face. I will make you. And my brother's like, oh no. And then people are pulling out their camera. They're probably thinking that
Oh,
Princess
yep.
Allura was going to be a world star. It was just like one of
Hold
those
my
things where I
earrings.
just
Yeah.
had it. Which I don't suggest people get that upset, but it
Yeah.
was like it was an emotional day because it was just like,
Yeah.
a lot of things, and I was running on lack of sleep. And luckily everything was resolved, so no
Yeah.
worries, no fights or things were had, but it was very like upsetting because it was like this guy who was like
Yeah. High
we didn't even
tension.
know.
Yeah.
And then we rushed to go get McDonald's, and then I had to rush back to go to get ready for the
Yeah.
masquerade. But it was something that was like almost like laughable later is just like, in the end, it's like things will be okay. Like some
Yeah.
things may happen like that
Mhm.
that are crazy and absurd, but it taught me too. Like I had to like I probably wouldn't have been if I didn't put as much pressure on myself the way that I
Yeah.
did. I would have been a little bit more calm in those situations and kind of just knowing that you take a second, breathe.
Yeah.
And there's times when I still struggle with that because sometimes cons can be very stressful and you have
Oh,
like different things that you got
absolutely.
to do,
Yeah.
places you got to go, like, appointments, interviews, whatever. Um, but, it is important to make sure to take a second to breathe and, eat a snack, drink some water, whatever is needed in order to get through the rest of the day. But I was really happy because in the end, I was like, oh, everything went well besides the moments in between where I thought I was gonna
Those
like
little things
lose my
add up.
mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna lose my
Uh-huh.
mind because I was like, oh, I made it. I made it. Okay, calm down. Whew, huzzah.
It's amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah. So but it's natural. We
Yeah.
all have those stressful moments, but we just need to take a
Absolutely.
second,
Yeah.
and breathe. Yeah. I'm
Like,
still working on it. Don't think for a second I'm just like saying this. I'm like, because I'm a master. No,
it's
everybody
all
is a
good.
constant struggle.
Like,
Come on.
if you take when we first entered this community, or even when we were like teenagers or whatever, and how we dealt with problems then to how we deal with
Yeah.
problems now, we've grown so much that it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you
it's
learn.
exact.
Yeah.
It's like hard earned wisdom, that like the only way we could have gotten this wise is by being
Yeah.
through those shitty moments. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's good stuff and it makes you stronger,
Yeah. And
So
it's good to have a good work ethic, of course,
exactly, yeah.
but not to the point where you don't want to also too like get to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you're driving yourself mad.
Yeah.
Because if something the slightest thing goes wrong, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when things may happen like tech issues or whatever
Mm-hmm.
else, and it's okay. It's not the biggest, and most of the time people don't even realize.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing.
And
Yeah.
that's something that I had to
Yep.
realize, take a second, like, oh, okay, that's not really that big of a deal.
Uh-huh.
So you dust your shoulder and you move on.
Do you know Game to Hype, George? Have you ever met him before?
No, I
Okay,
haven't.
he's an accomplished cosplayer as well. He's a wonderful human being. He's one of my best friends, but he has like a motto or sort of like a lifestyle where it's like the 5 foot rule, especially with cosplay, where he builds his cosplay. It's like the 5 foot rule. As long as it looks good from 5 feet, then it's good. That's all
Yeah,
that matters. So that's what he would do is
yeah,
he would just make his cosplays and just build it to be as good as he could. Without putting too much stress into it, or putting too much like craziness into it, and it always like went off really well, and it just reminded me that like, oh shit, that's true, and the things that we don't like, we can do casual, then let's do casual and enjoy the day and have
yeah,
fun. So it's like it's kind of cool. I don't know. And then yes,
yeah.
okay. So pivoting on the other end of the spectrum,
That's
what
awesome.
was your favorite W that you took the most pride in? Whether that was something small in the beginning or a major accomplishment, which I know you've had major accomplishments
Yeah.
because I've seen you. Yeah.
I think for me, what's interesting is like I've had some really like cool, like some, like you said, some really cool things. Like
Yeah.
being able, one of the biggest things for me was being asked by Disney to come to the red carpet, the purple
Yeah, that's
carpet for
right.
Avengers Infinity
Yeah.
War, and being able to meet Zoe Saldana and her freak out. And I
Mm-hmm.
freak out over her, and we touch each other's faces, and we're just like, I'm holding her hand. Like, what is life?
Yeah,
I'm holding Gamora's hands. This is crazy.
that's definitely a
And
W.
then
Yeah.
being able to go to Endgame, that was also too like,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening? What is my life right now?
Yeah,
Um, nerd's ultimate dream.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
when it gets down to it, a real for me, one of the moments that there's been quite a few, but one of them that's really stuck with me because it was like early on when I first kind of started. There was a girl who, African American girl,
Yeah.
black girl, beautiful black girl came up to me, and she was younger. She was younger. It's like she's like a teen, and she came up to me and she was like, oh, like I really wanted to meet you. I follow you, and you inspired me to get into cosplay. Like I'm cosplay. Like she did like a casual cosplay. She's like, I know it's not much,
Yeah.
but like, it's something that I didn't think that I could do because of the color of my skin,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing you do it and do whatever character you want
Mm-hmm.
inspired me. And I get emotional thinking about it still right
Yeah.
now, because being told that you can't do something, and
Yeah.
it hurts,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying not to cry.
Do it. Let it
um
out. It's fine.
um because you want people to know that there's nothing you can't accomplish. You can
Yeah.
do whatever you have deep in your heart. Like you
Exactly.
can make it happen with if you work hard, and as long as you don't give up.
Yeah.
And the fact that I could inspire anyone in any capacity, to
Mm-hmm.
me, is like the greatest thing. Like I don't care about numbers.
Yeah.
Like I could have like 10 followers. I don't really care if I can impact someone's life in a positive way where they
Yep.
do something that they've always wanted to do, that they felt or someone told them that they couldn't do.
Yeah.
That to me is powerful. That
Mm-hmm.
to me is like that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do, because I want people to know you can do it too. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it, don't let anyone stop you. Even if obstacles get in your way, don't let it prevent you
Yeah.
from at least trying. And I think that happens with a lot of people, and
Mm-hmm.
they give up before they even try. And and it breaks my heart when I see it. And I
Yeah.
know that with all of the vitriol and the gross things and comments, mean spirited comments, things
Mm-hmm.
that are out there in the media today, or like you see the comments, posted up, I mean, I know friends, and I've received um horrible messages
Mm-hmm.
calling me the N word,
Yep.
or whatever else, that version of like the N word of a character or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
It's upsetting, and you almost feel like you kind of want to, like, especially with that introverted part of myself.
Yeah.
There's
You
that
can't help
almost
but
that
think
part
it's
that
you're the reason. Yeah.
like
You.
almost like you
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of like remove yourself, but that's when I tell people, do the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they want you to do. And
Yep.
I like to be a rebel, and I refuse to
Yeah.
let that negativity
Mm-hmm.
rule like my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, because that's like giving them what they want, trolls what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing, because I know I've seen it where
Yeah.
like I've had people come up to me and tell me that I was an inspiration to them,
Mm-hmm.
or like my friend or whoever, like whatever inspired them. So that means that we're doing something right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I'm where I belong, and I'm gonna keep on doing it. And hate is gonna hate, but at least I know that it's making a difference,
Yeah.
even if it's a small one. It starts off, it's all, everything is small, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's a like a ripple effect.
Yep.
So if it doesn't start with someone, then it
Exactly.
has to,
Yeah.
it should start with you. If it you know if no one else is doing it, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but yeah, I think that was for me, something that still stays with me, and it drives me. Um, Even though I've taken a little bit of a step away from cosplay,
Yeah.
because I've been focusing so much
Understandably,
on D
though.
and
Yeah.
stuff, but at the same time, it's just another, like, I still add that element to my characters, so
Yeah.
it's not really like I'm
Yeah.
away
For
from it. I'm just
sure.
doing more fantasy inspired characters, like based off of characters that I create. So
Yeah.
it's fun to get creative in a different way. So you have to learn to adapt to change, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's so powerful. Everything you said, everything you mentioned is so true and genuine and raw. And you really are like a champion of the people. Like you are the hero that young Brianna wished she had, essentially. You become that, and now you're filling that role for a lot of other people. So it's a
That means a lot.
huge
Thank you.
yeah, of course.
Thank you.
It shows a huge sign of your success. And you really are senpai. So it's like it's good stuff.
I'm trying, like, and that's the whole thing, and that's what I loved about the Senpai program, is that there were people from different walks of life,
Yeah.
different parts of the U.S., outside of the country even, and we all are basically come together with
Yeah.
the same purpose. Like, all what the program was meant to be is like people, and what was great is that I didn't think I would ever get that opportunity, and it was the community
Yeah.
that basically gave me that opportunity, because it's
Yeah.
like they hear the feedback from the community and they select the
People have spoken.
senpai
Yeah.
based off of that,
Mhm.
and based off of like what they see you doing in the community. So for me, it was a complete honor to basically have been selected by my peers to
Yeah.
be, they considered me senpai, which I thought was insane, because I'm like, yeah, like
I'm
what?
just
What?
normal. Yeah.
Like everybody else to me is like, I'm like, oh, senpai, like,
Uh.
and people calling me senpai, that was the weirdest thing in the
Mhm.
world. But at the same time, it was great, because getting to know all of the fellow senpais, and they were all people who inspired me, and through their messages of acceptance and
Yeah.
um, follow your dreams, and don't let, like your weight, your gender, your sexuality,
Mhm.
where, like all these different things, like don't let that stop you. And those are the things that make you unique and amazing, and kind of capitalizing on
Yeah.
the positivity that unfortunately these days sometimes you don't get enough of that.
Yeah.
And it was something that was awesome, and I still will talk up the program all the time, because it's very, special, and will always be very close to my heart.
Yeah.
So and I love my fellow senpais. They became really close friends of mine, and
Yeah.
people who still inspire me to this day. And it's just, it's really cool, thinking of those moments
Mhm.
together, and being able to do different panels together and things like that. It's been really cool.
Oh, that's such a good
Yeah.
W. That's a that's an amazing one. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So going over to something more lighthearted. What
Yeah.
geeky passions fuel you and your creativity to like made you who you are today? Which you spoke a little bit about it, where it was X-Men and it was a few other things. But what do you feel were like the pillars of Brianna?
Yeah. Well, again, like I loved, I love classic television and movies,
Yeah.
but also too, like Star Wars was a big thing, which is funny because it's also too, like it's passed down to my brothers as well.
Yeah.
They're even more Star Wars nerds than I am, especially my middle brother Antonio. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he's just anything, any type of fact you want to know about Star Wars, he got you.
You're right. Nice.
Which is really cool. I love that. But I think also too, being a theater kid, and
Hmm.
like, and that kind of was also too another thing that kind of
Yeah.
influenced me, because I think that also too, being in costume and being on the stage, it just is a natural transition
Yeah.
into into cosplay, I
Oh,
feel,
for
because it's
sure.
just like,
Yeah.
but yeah, anime was definitely like, again, I was a Sailor Moon girl. I loved Sailor Neptune.
Yeah.
That was one of my first ever Sailor Moon cosplay was Sailor Neptune.
Oh,
Those
cool. Yeah.
photos are somewhere, like in the beginning of my
Instagram and
my
Facebook. Yeah.
Instagram creation. Um, but oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Spider-Man was my first comic book I ever read,
Yeah.
and I didn't own, like, because of the fact that I was raised in a single parent home, I
Hmm.
didn't really feel comfortable asking my mom to buy me comic books
Oh,
and
I feel
things.
that.
So
Yeah.
when I would go to bookstores like Barnes and Nobles, and I forgot the other big, what was the name of the other, Borders.
Mhm.
Borders. I don't know if anybody remembers
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
I would
Yeah. I
go
love
and
Borders.
read comic books and stuff. Borders and Barnes and Noble, and like X-Men was like my thing. And it was funny because X-Men, I think, spoke to me too, because, well, not only I was obsessed with Storm, because
Yeah.
again, you see somebody who's darker skin and it's
Yep.
like,
You
oh,
can.
that's somebody you
Yeah.
relate to, and you're like,
Exactly.
she's like one of the strongest Omega, like,
Mm-hmm.
mutants. She's amazing. She's like a goddess. And but also to X-Men was the reason why it's one of my favorites, and always will be,
Yeah.
is because of also to all of the different things dealing with acceptance and
Yeah.
their differences,
It
and
spoke on the
like
minority
how
experience. Yeah.
society didn't accept them, and like it was very deep, but it
Mm-hmm.
was something that I was like, I relate to that, because I felt misunderstood, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like a mutant too. Am I a mutant? Do I have powers? Will
Yeah.
they just
Right.
come about one day? But it was something that spoke to me. And then Spider-Man was a huge nerd, so that was like, yeah, like, Peter Parker, like, I understand, like,
Right.
you like this lady, and like, I wish I could talk to my crush too. Awkward. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Exactly. Nice.
But yeah, things like that. But video games too.
Yeah.
Again, as I mentioned, my uncle who passed away, rest in peace,
Hmm.
Uncle Kirk. Um, I was really close to my uncle growing up, and he was the one who, sat me in his lap, and I played
Yeah.
Sega with him, and he
Oh,
taught me how to
nice.
play.
Yeah.
And it's funny because apparently I thought I was playing, and
And he was
really
really, yeah.
he was really the one who was playing, but I didn't. I thought I was kicking butt, but but eventually as I got older, like obviously, like I
You're
learned
like,
how to
wait a
play,
second, my controller's
and
not plugged in. Yeah.
him and
Yeah.
my grandma got me my first my first PlayStation,
Yeah.
PlayStation 1, the old school stuff, with Papa the Rapper and all of
Yeah.
the
Nice. The
all the
classics.
like the classic games. Um and so gaming was also too a big thing because that was also too how I bonded with my cousins because
Yeah.
whenever we would visit each other's houses, we would play a lot of video games. So I was always with the boys,
Yeah.
so I was a bit of a tomboy. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, all these different things, I think, like gaming and anime and comic books and stuff, and of course a lot of the like Gargoyles was one of my favorites still to
Yeah.
this day. Gargoyles all day, every
Yeah.
day
Gargoyles was
for life.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
am a huge fan. And again, Elisa Maza was like my role model because she was legit the same, almost the same exact mix as I was, because she was Native American,
Yeah.
African American, and like part European or something, I think.
Wow.
Something
Yeah.
like, no, I think she might have been just Native American and African,
Yeah.
but it was still like someone who was like, oh, she looks like me and she's mixed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, like that's really cool because you didn't really see that, like where there were lots of
Yeah.
characters like that. So I could identify because I'm like, yeah, I'm from different cultures, and they had episodes that focused on the cultures, and I was like, I think that's so cool because I love family history and
Yeah.
learning more about history. That was one of my favorite subjects in school. So yeah, so it was just like all of these different things, kind of,
Yeah.
I know that was again the longest answer in the world
No,
because
you're good. You're good.
there's still so many different things that I enjoyed, but um
This is your
but
space. You don't
yeah,
have to apologize for anything. You do you. Yeah.
martial arts, I mean,
Oh, really?
like that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I took taekwondo when I was younger, and
Yeah.
then as an adult, I got back into martial arts, and I got to train with some of the best masters, grandmasters,
Yeah.
probably in the world.
Wow. So you would have
Yeah, but I
messed
mean,
that like squatter up had it really come down to
no,
it.
I really, that's the thing is that I can like the guy didn't realize that it was like I competed in martial arts and I used
Yeah.
to spar against guys who were double my size and weight.
Damn.
And my brother was
Yeah.
also a Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He also competed in
Yeah.
BJJ. And my friend who was there teaching stunts and stuff,
Yeah.
he came and was like, "Is there a problem here?" He's like, "I got all my ninjas in another
Yeah,
room."
right,
Like literally,
exactly.
like it was
Yeah.
a whole group of like guys who were demonstrating fight stunts,
Yeah.
and so they were like, if we need to call backup, so that guy would have had a horrible day.
Oof.
So but it was something that, like, for me, like, it was funny because it's kind of with our family. Like martial arts
Yeah.
is something that also too means a lot to us
Oh,
and
that's
has
cool.
been a part
Okay.
of our lives. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we all started to study different styles, and I studied wushu mainly,
Wow, that's
and
really cool.
Muay Thai,
Yeah.
Silat, Eskrima, and Kali. But yeah, it's like, I love learning
Yeah.
because training it's a lot of fun. I miss it. I do miss it. I need to get back into it eventually. So yeah,
Dang, dude, that's so cool. That's something I had no idea of. And like
yeah.
the acting, the
I've lived
dancing.
several
Oh,
lives,
yeah,
my
right?
man. I like
Exactly.
from a ballroom dancer, like used to teach
Wow.
to
Oh, I think
like
I saw that
martial
photo. Yeah,
arts
where you're teaching like a
to
little kid or
like
something. Yeah.
yeah, to like teaching. I used to teach a Bollywood fitness class
Yeah.
to dancing with two different Bollywood companies, actually three. Yeah, I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
I feel like anything that makes you happy, just do it. I
Yeah,
have
for
zero regrets. I
sure.
feel like I've lived multiple
You are so
lifetimes.
well,
There's still
yeah,
more to live.
exactly. You're
It's
so well
fine.
rounded and so cultured. It's amazing, you know? Oh my God, that's so good. So, let's say that you were to walk into a room and you were to see 12-year-old Brianna, 12-year-old Utahime, and in all her insecurities and all her anxieties and just being bullied and everything like that, what is one piece of advice that you wish you could give yourself to make your road easier to being a content creator or even just a human being, you know, to make that growth just slightly less of a conflict and everything? What would you say?
Um, I would definitely tell her to love herself
Hmm.
because I didn't love myself. That I all of the things that people tell me
Yeah.
uh, are weird or strange or whatever, it's what makes you uniquely you.
Yeah.
And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You are fabulous just the way you are. And until you see it, nobody else is going to see it
Hmm.
unless
Yeah.
you believe it and believe that of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think that I would definitely that would be my message to myself if I was younger. It's like, nobody else is going to have like see that potential in you
Yeah.
and like see you shine unless it starts from the inside and out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
That
I think that would be the best piece of advice.
that's a good one. That's true. That's very very true. Like, how can you expect others to love yourself or even like you if you don't do it yourself? If you don't even do that. So that's
I mean,
really
I
really
think yeah, RuPaul said it better, but like,
good.
you don't love yourself, how the hell anybody else gonna love you? But
Yeah,
but
that's
at the
good.
same time, it's like it is true. Like you have to
Hmm.
accept those things, about yourself and love yourself for
Yeah.
in order to like really truly shine and to like have that confidence. Because I had zero confidence. I didn't
Hmm.
think that I was able
Same
to
though.
do
Same.
any and the stuff that I've been able to do,
Yeah.
like it's even though there's still for me, I beat myself up because it's sometimes because I'm like, oh, I wish that I was here, and
Yeah.
it's easy to compare your,
We're only human.
what
Yeah.
almost to want to compare yourself to others, but you can't do that. You
Hmm.
have to focus on yourself. You can't compare yourself to anybody else because
Everyone's.
everybody else's journey
Yeah.
is
Exactly. Is
their own.
unique. Yeah.
You have your own journey to lead,
Hmm.
to like walk down. That own your own path
Hmm.
to walk down, I should say. So yeah, so I think that that's something to keep in mind always. Yeah, walk your own
Yeah.
path.
That's so
Only you
good.
can walk it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then okay, so last question. Where can we find you online? What are your different social media accounts?
Yeah.
How can we support you?
You can find me on social media under Utahime Cosplay, Utahime. And no, it doesn't have to do with Utah. It means diva or songstress. My mom gave me the name. Even though
Nice.
go Utah.
Yeah, right? Go Utah.
It's Utah. It just has it's a Japanese word.
Yeah.
But yeah, Utahime cosplay at Instagram, on Facebook, here on Twitch, and then Brianna DeCoster on Twitter.
Yeah.
So BrianaDecoster on Twitter.
Nice. So
And
the,
oh yeah, duh. Fable 42. Be sure to follow because you'll see me playing Kizana Moonshadow
Mhm, mhm,
and
mhm, mhm.
Ash the Super Mutant Barbarian on Vault 42. Well, not both characters on Vault 42. Kizana Moonshadow's on Wizards of Ukador.
Yeah.
And Ash is on Vault 42. But you get the picture.
Both
But yes,
really good
go
series.
follow.
Very distinct, different characters in each one. So it's like it's good stuff. So the
Yeah.
the last thing that I do in these interviews, um, is have like a real moment. So,
Yeah.
Utahime or Brianna, we are friends. So our roads are going to cross again multiple times in different ways. But for right now, as we exit this interview, we're going to go ahead and part ways. But before we do so, I just want to take a moment to talk to you directly to say I've seen you work so hard for so long on so many different projects, and I acknowledge your struggle and I acknowledge your strength, and I just want to let you know that you are valid, you are worthy, you are enough. I want to thank you for one, being alive and being in our community and having the courage to break out of your shell through all of those hardships and all of those bullying, moments and everything like that, to become the person that you are here today, because you do inspire us. Like, you do inspire me and so many others in our community, that you are a pillar of strength. And I just want to let you know, same thing as I tell everyone, that I really feel that 2021 is your year, and you're already investing in yourself, you're already pivoting super hard, and I just want to say thank you so much for just being you. And yeah, so you're really
Oh,
amazing.
thank you. Stop trying to make me like you already almost made me cry earlier. but whatever. I'm a big crybaby anyway. Um, well, in some cases.
Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate all that you do.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna turn it back on you and say that you are absolutely amazing. You are one of the sweetest people I've gotten to meet, and it's been an honor to get to know you and become your friend. And I
Thank you.
see all of the different things that you're doing to
Yeah.
try to create a positive, nerdy like community.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that you are kind of taking a different where you're like, I'm gonna do this as D'Angelo, and you're becoming
Yeah.
more confident, and you're putting yourself out there, and we see it, and we acknowledge all that you're doing, and trying to spread that positivity and love in the community, and making sure it's a welcoming place. And thank you so much, because of people like you, I got involved into D&D,
Yeah.
and it has been something that has been life changing for me. I needed it during this time. I really did. It was really, really tough at the beginning of this, and because of people like you guys lifted me up, and so I'm truly grateful for that. So thank you for being a blessing in my life, and for so
Aw.
many other people as well.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, dude. Oh my gosh, that's so good. It's hard to like. I give you guys a lot of credit for being content creators because like it's so scary being here on your own,
Yeah.
and all that.
No,
So.
you're awesome. I love every bit of your quirkiness. Don't ever feel like you're not a good storyteller at
Yeah.
all, because you are.
Thank you.
Walk
Yeah.
in that. Walk
I
in
know,
that
right?
confidence. You got
Exactly.
this.
I know. Go wear this beard with pride. Yeah, so it's good. All right, guys. So we are coming to the end of our actual segment. Once again, make sure to follow Utahime and everything she does. She's an amazing, wonderful content creator with nothing but good vibes. She is
Follow
quality.
Peacock.
Oh yes, yes, and also myself. If you enjoy this content, definitely feel free to like follow. And then we're gonna have interviews every Sunday and all this sort of stuff. But make sure right now, take a brief moment to go to Utahime's stuff and just follow her because she absolutely deserves it. And with that, thank you guys again for joining us, and we will go ahead and see you guys. I'll be streaming live tomorrow. Utahime, when are you going to be streaming?
Actually, I'm going to be tonight on my
That's
friend
right. Okay, yeah.
Sammy_speed. I'm going to be
Yeah.
playing some Phasmo with friends. But you'll see me on
Nice.
Monday. I'm going to be back on my channel playing some Dead by Daylight. So if you want to come for some scary good times, 5 p.m. on Monday. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. All right. And we will see you guys later. Bye.